Okay. So Aurore, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you very much for this nice invitation. I'm super happy to be here. And I think that, well, I'm really amazed by how active the community of RLadies is. And for me, it's really important to keep sharing things right now. So I'm super happy to be here. And also, I didn't know about Slack, so I will have a look at this later on.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. If you have any problem understanding me, as we are a small group, don't hesitate to put it in a comment. I can rephrase. So do not hesitate to raise your virtual hand, and I will try to be attentive. So yes, my name is Aurore Paligot, and I currently live in Brussels. I'm Belgian, and I became a data analyst by coincidence because initially I have a background in languages, Spanish language and also sign language. And I decided along the way to do a PhD about sign language, which I completed in 2018. So it might be a bit surprising because now I'm working full time as a data and analytics consultant at a telecommunication company in Belgium. But my journey is that while doing my research, I really got interested about data because, well, when you're doing research, you're curious about so many things, but at the very end, what you need is data. And I fell in love with R and all the possibilities that it could give me as a researcher, but also after research in other other career paths. So I decided after 2018 to join an intensive bootcamp in Amsterdam during a few months, which I really enjoyed. I stayed there for 2 years and started to work a little bit as a consultant. And here I am today sharing something about my own personal projects with you. So I'm really happy to do that. Yes, so the topic I'd like to cover today is how to use R in a simple way to get to observe to get data from Instagram in this case and start to observe what's happening there. So I told you I'm really interested about languages. So of course using text data is something that is interesting me a lot, and also I'm an Instagrammer. So and as I like tech, the combination of all of it made me really curious about getting to know how I could connect to Instagram interface and use the data in a fun way, not to sell products to anybody, but in a fun way, just to observe how people interact and create spaces online as they do in real life. So this is how, when I was collaborating in Amsterdam with TAP, a small consultancy agency, I bring my personal project on the table, and my colleague who is an architect was really interested in it. So our common idea was to ask Instagram how people perceive locations in the city. Because, you know, as an architect, you can have an idea about how you want a place to be or where you want to put your building, but do you know really about the people who live those places? And so we really wanted to bring the people at the center, and we decided to use some social media data to start looking at it. So here what you can see is a tree representation of 4 famous spots of Amsterdam that are very well known because these are also summer beaches. So you have plenty of water and nice places to hang out. And I started to collect data about those places and try to see what was really specific about them. And so we have 4 places, and you can see that I highlighted in yellow a specific bubble for each of these places. And I was really surprised because the data well, confirmed some of the intuitions I had about the city as a newcomer, but also let me see stuff that I wouldn't have seen without it, which was really fun. For example, well, there is a place in the north of Amsterdam that is really known for art and street art. So of course it was really visible in the data, but we also had other communities. For example, there was in another spot a police community that was really involved with the citizens organizing activities, or the tech community that was in another place, in another spot. And so this is how we built this project that I really really loved. And based on this idea, then this year I thought that it would be a really nice point to start looking also at what's happening during the COVID crisis. And so I started, it's still an ongoing project, so it's really much a work in progress that I'm sharing with you, but I started to collect some data still about Amsterdam, but I'd like to do it with more cities, of course, Brussels, and now a little bit, of course, Bucharest, but why not other places as well, in order to observe what's happening, how people are reacting to the lockdowns that we've been living, and how this had impacted their way of interacting with the places, also through social media. So I'm starting to gather some data. At the moment, I'm really focusing on looking at the hashtags. So we'll start with something quite simple, but I'm really open at bringing new questions on the table, also with collaboration. So if you like working with this kind of data, let's get in touch. This is something I'm working on right now on my personal time. Yeah, whenever I have some time, I'm going on the internet, try to think about new questions, getting some data. I see a question here, let me check. Oh yeah, thank you, hi Violeta. All right, so yes, if you want to be in touch, I think the easiest way for me is to reach me through LinkedIn. It's the place where I am, because I'm not always active on Twitter. So, but there, I'll be there. So, okay, let me try to get the next slide. Yeah, so my goal for today is to take you through the whole research process in a way that after this presentation, you are able to start gathering your own data, creating or thinking about your own question, interest, and start analyzing it. So I hope that we will achieve that today. Firstly, we will see how to get some data from Instagram, and then we'll go to the analytics part, observing the hashtags, their frequency, and then their evolution. I took this picture of the puzzle because in this workshop, I won't be able to cover the detail of every code that I'm providing to you. But the idea is really that you can, after that, review the video if you like, or you can go on the GitHub folder there and review the code and then start playing with it. So don't worry if things do not work all at once today. The idea is really just to help you connect the dots and have a point to start your own projects. If you have any questions, I hope that this is clear for you so far. I'm taking this.
Yes, yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right. So here is the first step. About the project is, of course, getting the data, and All right, so to be totally honest, this is not a point where I feel really strong. I didn't before this project did web scraping of any form, so I turned to GitHub to see if other users, our users, had undertook the same task that would help me start it. So the first step here that I'm sharing with you is really much based on the incredible work of Jonas Schroeder from the University of Mannheim, who developed a series of scripts to get the data, but also visualize it. I'm only gonna use the first two of his series of scripts, but do not hesitate to see his work. I think it's really great. I adapted it to my own workflow and goals, but there are other nice things there that we can see. Also, just I'd like to say a word here about how to use Instagram data. My perspective is really much doing research, and you know that. Well, I just want you to be careful and not use the data, let's say, in a responsible way. So this kind of solution is not there like to scrape big volumes of data. The idea behind it is that you can gather data that was created recently. And for instance, I was able to go back until 2017, but not further. So you should know that it's not the solution if you really want like to gather big amounts of data, but this was really not the goal I was pursuing. So just for a note. So the idea of this script is that you can start to scrape data based on a hashtag of your will. So it can be a place like I use, but it can be any other thing. As in my first project, I was really interested to map places with representation. Of course, I use places, but then I thought that even for this Corona project, it would be an easy way to start, because you can start having the data that is relevant to a community. Because first of all, it would be really difficult to get Corona data that is scattered all around the globe, and then by taking city by city, I think that we can really more focus on some steps that are important. So I used some famous hashtags, Amsterdam, of course, and you can use Bucharest one. I have some samples of Bucharest data that I left for you in the folder already to explore. So what I propose to you now is to show you how to run the script and what to pay attention to. And if you want, if you feel comfortable with that, you can do it along with me at the same time. So I'm now going to switch to my R console. Oops. Just a sec. All right. So as you can see, this is a rather intricate script. So my goal here is not to go into that and explain everything, but more to quickly show you a way on how you can make it function and work for you and get the data that you want. So this is really well done and quite simple. So first of all, loading some libraries. And here, line 22 is the place where you should add the hashtag of your interest. So let's say Bucharest, and then simply running the script. And here, line 98, you have a really nice comment from the author that says that the madness is starting. So let's go ahead and extract little bit of it, you see that it's getting line by line, extracting info. It takes a long time. It takes a long time. And so you should do that when you have other tasks at hand. So don't expect to have 3 years of data instantly. It doesn't work like that. But if you have the patience, that's fine. I've done it for you, so you can have 3 years of Amsterdam data. But we'll stop here for the purpose of the presentation. And you can see, well, let's format everything. Now you should specify where and how to name your file. And we have a nicely formatted CSV that we can see somewhere. Oh, yeah, exactly. So this is the data that we get. It's very complete. As you can see, we have a lot of information. We have the IDs of the posts, the URL address, the URL of the pictures, the ID of the owner, the text, of course, and then the date of the post. Okay, so my reflection is, why do we need this data for? Personally, I was just curious about the text, about the hashtags. So my way to approach this was to simply clean all the columns that were not relevant, because I do not feel like keeping the ID of an owner will, well, the idea is really not to go to the personal level of the data, but just to make stats about tendencies. So I think that's a really good question to ask when we're using data that can be very personal, even though this is public, to not misuse it in any way. So in the data that I provided in the script, I gave you a light and a clean version of data that's called Amsterdam Clean and Bucharest Clean, and then you will find the number of likes, the text, and then the date of the publication of the data. So this is the first step, how we start to gather the database. Next one is to use the second script that will extract all the hashtags that are contained in there, and that will analyze for you, this is really well done, the frequencies of your hashtags. So this is something that is really nice to see, of course, and that I was really curious about. So let's have a look at it right away, but please, if you have questions, do not hesitate to let me know.
Yes, I have some.
Yes.
Okay. So first question would be, if the information you extracted is only from the public accounts or also private accounts, because there's a lot of information in private accounts also.
Yeah, that's a really good question. As far as I've noticed, I never came across a private one. So I would say, yeah, only public.
Okay.
Which is a really good sign.
And did you only use hashtags or you also interpreted the text that was part of the post, the Instagram post?
At the moment, I've only used the hashtags, but I've kept the text, and my idea would be to match, well, to do some more advanced text mining, maybe like sentiment analysis on there. But so far, I've really looked just at the hashtags to have this kind of mapping of topics that were, yeah, in the text.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so this is the second part. here of the script, the points of interest are here, including in locating the data. And then here you have to be careful because the function is hard-coded. So you have to put here the number of the column that corresponds to the column where you have the text of the post. And then formatting this and saving it under file. So this, yeah, I won't run it here, but I can give you some time if you want to do it on the side along with me, to do it on some Bucharest hashtags maybe, or you prefer to have some time to do that at the end of the talk?
So maybe we just go along with you, Aurore, and the participant can do it at the end, if everyone's okay, or yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's do like that. All right, so now I will go back with you to the data that we have. Basically, what we generated are two kinds of files. A first file that includes row by row the listing of all the posts, all the Instagram posts that we gathered through our research. So every line corresponds to one post. And then the second one, which is the frequencies, and that here is this synthesis of the frequencies of every hashtags that were present with the one hashtag that we crawled. So here, for example, I did my first research with the Amsterdam hashtag. So obviously it is the most frequent one, but besides this one that we could put away, we can see immediately the list of the most frequent hashtag. Here, what I did, for example, in the first work about Amsterdam urban beaches, but also here Corona, is introduce my own way to categorize the data. I do not think that there is a simple way or very automatic way to do that just by doing automatic text mining, but that's fine because the data set is quite small, so it's just a few thousand of words, but it's totally doable to go over it. So what I did is that I created a new column, and then I highlighted every term that was, of course, related to COVID-19. So we have stay home, Corona, quarantine, stay safe, coronavirus, and then other ones that come later on. So this is something that I will use as a new variable in the next step of our discovery. I will now go back to my presentation. Yes. So what we've done is that we've learned how to connect to Instagram, gather some data around a hashtag, clean it, keep it, and then also get some very first statistics about the frequency and something to work with. So now I'd like to go to the second part of this presentation, which is having a closer look at the frequency of the hashtags by doing some visualization. So here I created for this tutorial a third script that is called Explore, and in which I take you through a few things that we can have a look at. This is really much a suggestions. Be free to do crazy things and on your own, and then to share them with us. That would be nice. Okay, so in the first part, hashtag frequency, I will use the list of frequencies, of course. And okay, so first having a look at the data, at the structure up. Well, there is some formatting to do because I would like to see here the levels of the variables that are associated or not with Corona, and also consider the hashtags as specific levels. So here I'm just formatting a bit the data, and then my goal is to visualize it. For me, in my work in general, and also in my new job, I tend to more and more use visualization as the first tool to analyze. I remember that I was doing research, I was doing the other way around. I was doing first the complex, I don't know, statistical analysis, and then after that I was allowing myself to look at the data, but really I realized that it was the other way around. And then that's an advice I think I really got when I was studying in Amsterdam, and that I will never lose. So here what I used is some ggplot2 package, plotting the hashtags and the frequency, looking at the top 21. Feel free to adapt it. And this is what we have. So let me, oops, not quite what I was looking for. Sorry. Here, what we have. This is really hard to hit. So of course, this graph needs a little bit of formatting, which I also included in the code, simply by linking the hashtags to the frequency. You can order the first 20 hashtags by frequency in a reverse or normal order. So if you want, for example, just do this up. You have by from the smaller to the bigger, but you can do it the other way around just by putting here, inversing the order, and then so these are just a few tricks to get your data more readable, and I like it. In fact, I like it to put it that way. Oh well.
Yeah, definitely.
Question. I noticed there's a very, very long hashtag. Do you think that's
Yes.
something? Yeah, there you go. That one. Do you think that's some character encoding stuff that's going on with the data?
Yes,
An
it
emoji,
is.
probably.
Yeah, it is. It is an emoji. The thing with hashtags, I've noticed that some users really have, that use intensively Instagram, have pre-registered lists of hashtags to include with their posts. And so for having this hashtag Amsterdam with 2 emojis, I haven't checked which one it was. I think that somebody probably commercial account that has used this one quite a lot. Well, I've seen this behavior quite a while, and also I should say that I haven't further cleaned the data. So this is really taken out from the script, but you can, you can make sure to remove, for example, or separate the emojis from there.
Yeah, that's perfect. I was just curious about it.
Yeah. I was quite surprised to see love here in like 5-6 position. Art. It's these are nice representations of the city, I think. All right. So this is for the top 20 hashtags, but of course we are also interested to see in the Corona dataset what comes out, what's the list, what's the frequency. So here I filtered my data on this variable and plotting it as well for the 15 most frequent. Oh, I really don't like it when it's on the, let me just, well. So surprisingly, when I did the analysis before the stay home was way back in the list, it's now became more popular or something like that. But this is basically the list of most popular hashtags that we can see associated with the topic. And another statistics that I found, well, visualization that I found interesting was to compare the proportion of people talking about Corona or not. Because it's not like all of a sudden people are only just publishing on the topic. So it's a small proportion, but still, I think, really significant. But yeah, it does not cover the biggest proportion of the data set that we have. All right, so let me go back for a minute to the presentation and check that I'm not forgetting anything. So this is what types of frequencies that we've seen. And I think that we can now go to our third step, which is looking at the evolution of the hashtags. So here my question was really to track when some specific hashtags happened and how they evolved in terms of frequency. So here I'm leaving aside the data set with the frequency to take the data set with the posts by row. And my goal will be to identify every post that use Corona, either as a word or as a hashtag. Okay, so I'm gonna clean a little bit. So here I'm using the Amsterdam clean data. Is it? Yeah, it's still loading. Yes, this is quite a big data set. We have at least almost 100,000 rows. So this is why it takes some time. And here the function that I'm going to use is one of the simpler, I think, function of Stringer package for doing text mining. And the idea here is to detect in the column where I have the text every occurrences of the word Corona. I'm creating a vector on this, so that will give me the true and false value, showing if every post is or isn't associated with Corona. And then when we see it, we have here the summary. We can see that 2,000 over 10,000 posts are talking about Corona. So this gives us another representation and a bigger proportion than what we've seen with the totality of the hashtags. So for the reality of what's happening and what occupies people, I would definitely use this stat as more relevant, for example, to say, well, yeah, something is well, it was really an important topic. So what I'm doing, I'm just adding then this new vector to my data set and then filtering the data to subset it and only keep the data that is talking about Corona. And then my idea here was to count then the number of posts by date. So that way I can have an idea of how many posts with the topic were published every day since January. And then visualizing everything, which gives us one of those curves we've been learning to see, but this time on Instagram posts for Amsterdam. So we can see, of course, that it's really slow in March until, well, the lockdown happened here, and then decreasing. The data stops in May, so I don't know about the situation now, but I would be curious to see about it. And you can repeat it with as many hashtags as you want. For example, here, stay safe, stay home. And we have the same thing, but with another scale. So we were around 100 for Corona. Here it's half of it. Yeah. So I think that this is all the representation I had for you today. I encourage you to dig deeper. What I've been looking at is, for example, using a priori algorithm and see the strength of association between some hashtags. As somebody was asking also, I like to do something with the text. And now I think I would be really curious to know what are your ideas, the questions that you would like to ask to this kind of data, what tools you have in mind to explore this, and yeah. So I'm gonna stop my screen, and then if you have any question, or we can also, I don't know what's the scheduled time, but we can also go over the material once more with the data set, the scripts, and trying something live. But yeah, let's see how it goes.
So let's see if we have some questions to start. Let's see. So we have a first question.
What did you use to create the first slide? Oh yeah, for the urban beaches. These ones were. I first conducted the analysis in R, so doing all the cleaning, all the web scraping in R, but then I visualized them with Tableau because I'm also a Tableau developer, and that's true that yeah, it's a nice interface. As an R programmer, Tableau gets really frustrating because sometimes the user interface doesn't allow you to code everything like you want it to, but the effect is nice in terms of impact and communication. So it's also fun to use.
I was wondering if you could also show us the GitHub, so people would know how to reach to your project, because you prepared a really nice project, which I think can help us to go towards your ideas to develop also for Bucharest tags or
yeah, of
more
course.
tags.
Yes. Okay, I will show that in a minute.
And I think this is also a good opportunity because next meetup will present the topic regarding GitHub and Git with Ana Maria, which I think asked you at the beginning. So it's good to help our audience to feel a flavor.
Yes, so this is my GitHub. To be honest, it's not 100% up to date, and well, you know, but there are some stuff there. Here there is some material about the blog down presentation that I did, and here you can find the material for today in here. For the complete script from Jonas, there is a link in my presentation. Well, I suggest you to look directly for Instacrawler on GitHub. But otherwise, here you will find the data that I cleaned that you can use freely, visualize it or analyze in any way you want. The presentation with here document that will help you know which document I use as an input when in relation to the different scripts, and then the scripts themselves.
So we have another question regarding how straightforward is the process of using this code. Do we have to work a lot on it, or is it straightforward?
Yeah, it's really straightforward. It's really straightforward. Yeah. Of course, if you have any question regarding the visualization part that I built, come back to me. But the Insta crawler is really well done. So there is documentation that goes with it. So it's pretty easy. That's why I started with this. I wanted to have some data quickly, and maybe there are better solutions to get the data, but this one was really simple. And yeah.
Okay. Other questions from the audience? For me, it was really interesting. You need to. So we have another question. There are a lot of emojis related to hashtag, and if yes, have you used any emoji decoder to retrieve the feeling?
Not in this project, but I did it recently with a friend. I wanted, to do some statistics about WhatsApp conversation. And so again, here, just going on GitHub and see how people were creative with it. And I found really nice options. So there is a really easy way to collect your WhatsApp conversations. Of course, don't share them with everybody, but your own, and then format them. And then you can analyze fun stuffs like how many emojis do you use, and are the person of your conversation group using more than you, who is talking more, or who is using more words or more different words. And so there are also really nice stuff that you can do regarding to text, looking at frequencies and stuff like that. I still have the links because that's something I did not so long ago, so I can link it and put it on Twitter with a link to that reference or something like that if you're interested.
And we have another question from Christy. He is asking you about the tool that you use for crawling the data.
No, you can also crawl other things. For example, you can crawl based on some ID of the places. So that's another technique that I found and I tried that works quite well as well. In Google Maps, the places and their denominations like Amsterdam or Amsterdam Central, they are linked to kind of an ID, and you can use this ID to get some data. I see here from Sabrina, next time NLP. Well, I hope, yes. What else? Word of cloud. Yes, I did. Well, maybe I can show you it on my Tableau visualization. I did a word of cloud, but in a specific way. Let's see. But I didn't do it in R, the word, yes.
Yeah, I think there are some packages to do it in R. I was just curious if you tried anything in R.
I think that there is the word cloud or something, or word cloud something.
Yes, here. So for example, in the tooltips, I use this, let's say, stylization of the word cloud, where the size of the box is. So I have all the hashtags that are related to a topic like food, and then the size is a bit like the size you would have in a word cloud. But I wanted something that was more, that had the spirit of the word cloud, but was a bit different.
Did you aggregate the hashtags, as in, have you seen the words related to food and you just add them to a category called food, or have you tried a specific analysis to do that?
I did it. I did it manually, like I did for Corona. So I came up with 7 topics that were emerging from the data, and this is let's say, a nomenclature. I don't know what would be the word in English, but that I came up with myself. But I think that it's interesting as a previously social science researcher. I like it when you have points where you have to leave a bit on the side automatization to start thinking and start to think about how to group things, and the way your mind creates the group is not maybe what your computer does it. So I like also going in and out of it, not especially having everything processed. But then once I created the first nomenclature, then I reuse it for new projects, and then it evolves. And, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So in the end, you actually classified yourself the tags, because this.
In that project, yes. But of course, when it comes to text mining, you can already rely on some classifications, for example, for sentiment analysis. But then you rely on a classification that was external, which is fine. But in this approach, the idea was really to be closer to the data. So it was important for me to create my own distinctions.
So for me, it was really interesting to see the COVID and the tags which were associated, and I was I would be really curious because today, at least in Bucharest, we receive a message regarding COVID. I think twice or third times in a day. So. 3 times in a day, sorry. So I suppose the tag actually increased even more today.
Yeah.
So this would be really interesting.
Yes, and I'm also sure that the way people talk about it now is different than they were talking about it a few months back. So that's also something that would be nice to see how the feelings are changing. Yeah.
Do
I
we
hope
have?
to get the data bigger, and then this is the first step.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and if you could find, let's say, more international sources, then it becomes really really interesting, as you stated at the beginning. As any project, you start with some small things, and pieces by piece, it grows.
Yeah.
I was curious if we still have more questions for Aurore. So don't be shy. Okay. Also, I was thinking now that you told us, for example, about the WhatsApp. I was wondering if they actually have some models, because I assume you could actually cluster the type of conversation, as
Sorry.
Paul was to. So, for example, we are discussing now, and if we would do that on Twitter or WhatsApp, I assume we have this a specific behavior. I don't know. Maybe I use more words, you were saying earlier, or maybe more emoticons. Emojis. So probably I could be classified in some segmentation as the emoji girl.
Yes, well, that's a really interesting question. In fact, my research question when I was working with sign language was to study register variation in sign language. So I was interested at how do we change the way we sign according to the speaking context. So, well, we know, for example, in French or in English that we have formality levels, and we don't speak at home like we speak with our boss, obviously. But for the deaf community, it hasn't been studied, and also the social context of transmission is really different. And so my question was trying to find the forms in the very way of how you articulate the hands that can distinguish these differences, these nuances of formality in sign language. And here with written text, of course, we can see so many things. We can see, of course, how we are influenced by the medium. We don't write on Twitter like on WhatsApp, but also looking at new topics like emojis. And so these are all things for me that are really that I'm really curious about and happy to study whenever I have some data, even with my friends, web scraping our own conversations. So
maybe we can find through our community some other people who will join your projects. This would be, I think, really interesting, and who knows what we could find out even more. So if you still have, I saw there was a question.
yeah, Anna Maria. Oh.
I just wanted to say that it would be really nice as an experiment to just look through your conversation with your friends, for example, and see what are the most frequent words you used. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have the dashboard here. I'm not sure I'm supposed to share it. There is a word cloud, but I will keep it private. I think you wouldn't like it to be shared. But yeah, it's really nice. Like I was surprised, for example, at the perception you can have at your own, how frequently you speak to somebody and how the data does not reflect it. For example, I had the feeling that I was speaking all the time, and then the statistic were, hey, well, not so much. Like, well, this is funny sometimes, but let's say this is more for the personal and psychological aspect of it, but for the linguistically it's really fun as well.
Thank you. Thank you a lot. It was really inspiring. I will try to actually deep dive on the project you showed us. I'm going to spend some time in the weekend. I will try to blog about it. Maybe I discover something. So this is something I take on me, but I encourage all participants to do the same and to send us their feedback. So this would be really interesting.
Yes, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, that's great. Thanks, Ines. And don't hesitate to contact me later if you have other questions.
So I think since there are no questions, we are going to close this meetup. It was really a really enlightening topic and presentation from you, and of course a multicultural. So this is something we, let's say, are happy to, I don't know, to feel after this Corona stage or of our life started. So I think this is the coolest part, that we are able to participate in so many countries. So this is something cool. And I'm happy that you were with us tonight. I will try to come back for all of you with the details, the video. It will be, I hope I will be able to put it on YouTube. I had some technical issues. Each meetup I have different challenges, which is normal. But you will have this meetup recorded, so you'll benefit also afterwards. Of course, the GitHub project from Aurore, thank you so much for taking the time and preparing it for us. And I encourage you to use it, to test it, and to blog about it, or tweet about it, or WhatsApp to a friend with emojis, of course. which afterwards we are going to analyze. And don't forget, we are meeting again next month in November with Ana Maria. She will help us to discover more on Git and GitHub. So please start register on our meetup page as soon as you will see the event. We are also preparing something new in another community, which will be broad. So follow us again. I think this is it from my side. Thanks a lot to everyone who participated, and of course to you, Aurore. See you next month. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you.
Thank you.